then I'm gonna call us to order at 5:08. And we'll start with our roll call. Terry Andrews.
Here.
Ira Brashovsky.
Yep.
Betsy Kahn, I'm here. Gwen McMullins.
Here.
Armando Zambrano is absent. All right, we will start then with item 3, public communication. Kate, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Good evening. Is this on? My name is Kate Shoemaker, and I am the president of the Altadena Library Staff Association. I wanted to direct your attention to the letter from the Staff Association that is on page 35 of your board package.
Kate, just hang on a second so Jonathan can check your mic.
Thought it was on.
There we go.
Do you want me to restart?
Yeah, why don't you?
All right. My name is Kate Shoemaker, and I am the president of the Altadena Library Staff Association. I wanted to direct your attention to the letter from the Staff Association that is on page 35 of your board package. We, as the Staff Association, request information from the board regarding the expected timeline in the interim director search, the authority to be held by the interim director, and the criteria used in the interim director search. I also want to make it abundantly clear that the Staff Association represents the majority of opinions on this letter. However, not all staff members are members of the association, and so we cannot guarantee that all staff members in the organization believe that this is reflective of their opinions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee?
Yes, thank you. What I have to say has changed several times in the last few days, but, you know, a year ago, actually a little over a year ago, the gang of three, the three amigos, the three guys on the board thought that somehow or another things were going hanky-panky and wrong, and there were secret meetings apparently, there were repeated Brown Act violations, but there were some big issues. Big issues like, let's get the agenda packets thin. And you know what? They won. This agenda packet, it's a joke, okay? It's a joke for a variety of reasons. You just heard about a letter. It's correspondence to the board. It's the last thing in the packet. It's page 35. It's not on the agenda as correspondence. I don't know why, but what I've noticed, and maybe you have noticed, is that, well, there's an old kid's book and kid's song, wheels on the bus go round and round, wheels on the bus go round and round, until they start coming off. And what we've seen in the year since things went south with the board and its various and sundry illegal activities is the loss of actual talent and vision as leadership in this library district. And now we're stuck with incredible legal bills. We're stuck with facilities that I took a drive past today. There are elements of this facility that resemble one of the homeless camps I helped clean up recently in the Angeles National Forest. I don't know why or how that can be the case in a library district that is supposed to be proud and moving forward, and you all have told members of the public is doing a great job with their tax dollars. Well, my own house may be a jumble and maybe a mess, but it's a clean place compared to part of the pigsty element of this library district's facilities. It's shameful, and the only reason that exists is because you all and all of those sitting up there who wanted the thinner board packets light and quick and easy board meetings, aren't doing your jobs and aren't paying attention and aren't ensuring that the appropriate level of talent and vision exists at this library. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Those were the only requests I had for comment on general public communication. Is anybody else want to squeeze in before we move on?
I don't think I did write it.
I just wanted to say something about
page 35. So I was directed to put it under item 12A, and I did not put the page number after that item, which was my mistake. We were kind of trying to put this out at the last minute. So yeah, but that is where it goes.
Thank you.
So Mark Mariscal, glad to be here at 626 East Mariposa or West Mendocino or East Mendocino or wherever this address is in LA County, Building and Safety or Regional Planning or whatever it is. So I thought that was good. I wasn't here at the very beginning, I apologize. So with that, I don't think you moved the agenda items before closed session, so I just want to say that from the Friends and the Foundation, one, we expect at the December 10th, or you're still having a meeting on December 10th for the swearing, public swearing. Hopefully you'll have public comment or something, but I think we want to give check presentations then from both the Friends and the Foundation. So I would like to make that request on behalf of both of those organizations. And then other than that, we have a good book sale coming up for December 8th, which is part of Christmas Tree Lane lighting ceremony. And then, of course, we have Giving Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So if anybody, I want to thank the library again, because when you go to the webpage, it's right there in the very front, Giving Tuesday. And so you can click on there and you can choose between the Friends or the Foundation. But I think, so anybody in here that have that interest, feel free to do that. And other than that, I don't think we had anything else unless somebody can remind me if there was something I was supposed to say on behalf of the Friends, but I don't think so. So, and congratulations to, although I know that the election is not certified yet, but congratulations to all that participated, because even people that don't win are still participating in the democratic process, and I think that's what's more important, is that we actually had a good contested election. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we'll move on to item 4. Stella, if you want to go ahead and tell us about personnel.
Yes, so in October, Katie Sullivan started. She is our new librarian too in adult services, and of course adult services is part of the overall public services department. Katie is a supervisor for her team, and if you have not yet had the opportunity to meet Katie, she is currently working on the info desk right as we speak, so please go say hello. She's been an awesome addition to the ALD team.
Thank you. Could you just tell us where she came from last?
Hermosa Beach.
Hermosa Beach. Okay. All right, so that's it for number 4. Renee, you would like to speak to number 5.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to focus on, I think it's the 7,200 category, if memory serves. That's the lovely and talented legal fees. You see before you, as I recall, $45,000 and change. Of course, that's for the month of August. And that information has been made public previously. But I wanted to let you all know, we have winners. Yes, we have winners in the community. You all know, because I announced it here, that there was going to be a guessing game. Winners would win a bottle of wine from the wine pull event, closest to the actual amount, but low, closest to the actual amount, but high. And if anybody guessed the actual amount of billings for the Altadena Library District in the month of September, they would win a bottle of wine valued at $100 from the Taste of Dena event, at least $100. The good news is that 2 people won, so they're going to be getting those bottles of wine. The bad news, that doesn't seem to be of concern to anyone other than the taxpayers and users of this facility, is that, and I'm running off of memory here, so I may be wrong, but for the month of September alone, Best Best in Krieger, represented here this evening, billed this library district $65,201.07. This board has remained silent about its profligate, incredible, way over budget spending on attorneys. There's been no comment. You have every ability to do that. You have every ability to even deliberate about that openly in front of members of the public. But for whatever reason, you don't. $65,000 in 1 month is equivalent to the full-time annual salary of a full-time, highly experienced librarian in this district. One might argue that they are underpaid. $65,000 is also the approximate cost of, well, let's figure 15 bucks a book. What is that? 4,000 volumes purchased, processed, and put on the shelves. Now, some of you will ignore me and look at your board reports instead of being concerned about this. But I think you all really need to address the fact that the spending is way out of line, that it's way off of budget, and that it is shameful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Oh, if I might, I very much apologize, but there will be another contest for the month of October, okay? And so same rules will apply, and again, if anybody guesses it right on,
Thank
they
you.
get 2 bottles of wine.
Thank you.
Thank
Nicole, would you like to just help us understand the report that's in the packet? Or is there anything you'd like to comment about it?
Not especially. We did receive a fiscal consolidated payment from the Treasury. That's money that they hold for us in the amount of $18,000, so that was nice. And we've also been getting a lot of rental revenue from film studios that film across the street. They rent the rear part of our parking lot for their catering trucks. So this is for the month of September, but that's been pretty steady throughout the year, so we're quite over budget for that line item. Any questions?
Just a
And-
quick question, if you could. The $18,000 is from Cal State Libraries.
Yes.
And was there any restriction on that?
No.
Oh, okay. It's just a grant?
It's not a grant, it's money that the U.S. Treasury holds for
For
us
us,
and owes
okay.
to us.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments about the financial report?
Just a question. There's a line item, 5218, which is, it says PERS unfunded. And I'm just looking at the difference between the 2 years, which is pretty high.
Yes.
So is there a story there?
Yes. So generally, last year, you'll see that we were quite a bit lower. That's because we were paying month to month. This year, we opted to prepay. I think I mentioned it in July or August that we had prepaid that because we got a discount. So the discount amount was around $4,000 for the total year. So that's why it's so much higher for this year, because we prepaid the whole 12 months rather than paying month to month.
Okay. And then a final question, this might go to you, Stella, and the staff. There's been a lot of complaints lodged against our attorney fees, and we, as board members, don't get a chance to review those and so on. Could you take us through the review process for that? I think people might be concerned that we're being overbilled. I just wonder how you check that and how we make sure that the charges are appropriate.
So, so initially, when the attorneys were first brought on board, there was the overall board of approval for the attorney's fees, and it was my understanding from Ryan that basically that initial approval is what allows for the payment every month of the bills, of not bringing them to the board on a monthly basis as one would for any other expenditure over $10,000. Certainly if you want to reevaluate that, we could, more than happy to.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering if you get a bill, and generally the hours are broken out, and the tasks are broken out, so you see what's happening. And is there someone that kind of puts a pushback on that if they see something that might be out of line or so on?
So I guess the person that would be doing that would be me. However, at this point, I haven't seen anything out of line based upon what I know is taking place and what some of the discussions are that are taking place, and that I know, you know, when Betsy's in conversation, or if I've received an email, or when we receive PRA requests and so forth.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think our problem is, at least for me as a board member, is that I don't get a chance to see the bills, you know, I don't check those things. So I would, you know, hope that there's some kind of a control or oversight that goes into, okay, here's a bill that's for 100 hours, let's say, at $500 an hour, whatever the rate is. Let's check that one out a little bit. And always, as a board member, happy to put in my 2 cents about the hours I know were spent on this. And then I'm wondering also, you know, we've got these bills coming in, and who knows when it's going to stop. I mean, legal bills will always be coming our way. If there's some sort of, I'm looking at Best and Krieger now, but looking at you really, Stella, because you'll need to respond to this. If there's any kind of audit process or something like that could be done to make sure retrospectively that we're looking good and clean on those bills. So I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I think the question certainly could be asked of the attorneys about that, to kind of give us a brief overview of how those charges are measured. I think that would help to answer or to address some of the concerns that the public has. We've heard Mr. Haney talk about it, but I've heard it from other sources as well. So I'll leave that in your court and see maybe what you can come up with by the time we meet for our next regular meeting, which I'm going to say would be is December. Okay, December. Just a few comments about that, if you could. I really appreciate it.
sure, absolutely. And just to say regarding the audit, that we did have the annual audit done in September they finished, October they finished, and there will be a report on that in an upcoming meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, any other comments on the financial report? These were some of my own questions as well, so I was happy to hear them brought up. I guess then I need a motion to receive and file the financial reports.
I'll move
that we do so.
Okay, and I'll second the motion that we receive them for audit.
Okay, so Terry's moving, Gwen is seconding that we receive and file the financial reports. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Renee, it looks like you wanted to speak to number 6.
Yes, thank you. Two quick sections, the departmental monthly reports and the district director's report. Back in the day when there was actually an agenda, these reports and information were typically quite thick. You'll notice that they're quite thin these days. Also, just as a thought, and this, I haven't brought it up with Stella, but thinking of my tour of the facility today and the fact that this district is clearly going to need to spend many millions of dollars on facilities-related issues, that perhaps it's time to actually have a facilities department report included because of the myriad issues that are going to be coming up. And again, the idea here that back in the day, there were lots of things going on, and this library, because planning takes time, you got to have things in the hopper in order for those to happen and for those to occur and for the future funding and all the rest of that sort of stuff. We got nothing in here like that, and that is due to the board. Okay? It all lands on the board. The problem being that these future opportunities that the library is not looking at and taking advantage of are going to bite this district in the backside in coming months and years. And that rests firmly on this board and those 3 people who will soon no longer be on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. is there anyone who wants to remove anything from the consent calendar for discussion? Okay, then I'm going to ask for a motion that we approve the items and recommended actions in the consent calendar as listed below.
I will move that we accept all of these reports.
Okay, so Gwen's moving
I'll second.
and Ira seconding. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Say aye.
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 All right, I guess we're gonna move on to number 8. Renee?
Broken record time, but, you know, if you're gonna do an item on the agenda, one would expect a board report. I don't know. I would, as a board member, I would ask about that, I would expect it. But from the public standpoint, because there is none in the board packet, no even preliminary results or information about what went down. And I don't understand how that can be acceptable, but it is for you. But there, just to point out, your absent member here, Mr. Zambrano, who's chosen to avoid public scrutiny over the last several months, and Mr. Brushatsky have both been removed by vote of the people. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Mr. Brushatsky chose not to take my urging and resign, but the members of the public have spoken, and he will no longer be sitting up here, avoiding public contact. So I think that's a great thing. I look forward to the forward movement of this board, and I would, as Mr. Gronemeyer has pointed out, remind everybody here that you are a deliberative legislative body. Your role is to deliberate. Your role is to do planning, to do long-term planning, and to then look at how the director of this library has, whoever that may be in future, has actually put your plans into place and into fruition. The new board members need to know that their job is not to micromanage staff, not to demand issues and information from staff and ask questions from staff in a never-ending stream, and it is most certainly not to violate the law repeatedly. And so I hope that incoming and newly elected, i.e. already seated but newly elected, members of the board will get sufficient actual training in the laws that apply to them and in the process of how a special district library functions in this state. Again, I hope to see that training as soon as possible for everyone who will be sitting up here soon. Thank you.
Colleen, is there anything you want to tell us about that item? Thank you.
Sorry, I was scrolling through the county's calendar. Okay, yeah, it's not on that page. But on the county website, there is information about their dates. And I confirmed with them again today that, I'm sure they're getting tired of me over there, that November 30th is the last date they have to certify the election results. So I don't know if it will be before then, but definitely by that date, they will certify the results, and then from there, they send us the information. The person I spoke to today said that she believes it goes out both electronically and physically, which I would imagine, considering most of the communication we get from them is through email. So we'll probably get an email and a letter that week, I would say.
I happened to look at the county election website myself today, and it said 30 days. And Ruben found that out too, that it said 30 days. So, or he found out separately from me that 30 days was the date that they would be certifying, which wouldn't put it until December 6th. So
Okay,
I'm curious.
yeah,
I mean, that's good news. If it's the 30th, that's better. We would all like to know.
I
ASAP.
called again today, because you had asked me this morning, and I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. So the person that I usually speak to is the, division manager for election information and preparation at the Alley County Recorder's Office. He had stepped away, so, from his desk today when I called, so I asked his assistant or the person who answered the phone, if that was what she believed to be the case as well, because I had originally gotten the information from him, and she said yes. And then she also directed me to the website. I did not look, that's what I was trying to do right now, but she said yes, that's the information that she has, and that's the information that they have on the website. So yeah, I was trying to find it again, but that's what they told me. I don't know if maybe it's the other date. But they have also confirmed with me that December 7th is the date the new trustees have to be sworn in. So I hope we get the information.
Well, yeah, what Ruben told me is that they are bound by that date. At, the longest it could be is the 6th, and so we will definitely have the information for sure to be able to swear new board members and seated and newly elected board members in on that Friday. So that was my really only concern about confirming that date, was to make sure that our plans for officially swearing in on Friday and then having our regular meeting on Monday would fly, and it sounds like it will. So just a reminder to all of us newly electeds, that, and tell me if this, I think this is what you had said in the previous meeting, but I just want to make sure we all understand that it's up to us to contact you and just set a time to come by on Friday, the 7th, to meet with you and just have our official swearing in on that day.
Right, so I will be up, probably meeting in the director's office. Stella has offered to be there as a witness, not that we technically need one, but I think it can't hurt. So it's just the oath of office that you're taking, and because I'm the notary, I will be completing that. But on Monday, if you all want to do, ceremonial swearing in, which typically has been done here in the past during board meetings, then you can do that as well. But I know there have been some questions about that, both publicly and with staff. So that Friday is not necessarily like a public ceremony swearing in. It will just be the trustees coming in to
Legal
perform, yeah.
action. And just as a reminder, I mean, we kind of set up that schedule, I think it's been a couple of months ago now. And I've gotten a little flack for saying, hey, maybe not have a meeting on a Friday night in December, but I stand by that decision. I think that was the right decision to not have a regular meeting on a Friday night in December. So we are fulfilling our legal responsibility to swear us in on the day we legally have to, and we have our regular meeting on a Monday, which is what we're all used to anyway, so that's how we're gonna roll. Any questions or comments about that?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm not quite sure who to ask it of, but does anybody have what this election cost us this time versus previous years where, because they were special elections, we had to pay the county a bit more, is my understanding. Does anybody?
Right, so this is our first election since consolidating with the general election. So my understanding is that the cost would be less, but I can't guarantee that because it's also been 5 years. So yeah, I don't think we have an estimate yet.
But is it fair to to speculate, however, that there probably was a cost reduction to us because of that. Who knows, huh? Okay.
There should be.
Okay. Do you find out about that, Nicole? Or, I mean,
Well,
can I leave it an
when
open
they
question?
send me the bill.
Okay, good. I'll leave it an open question until then, okay? And then the second question I had is, I bought a registered voter mailing list from the county. There's about 29,000 voters in Altadena, and there's a lot of votes cast even for the library race, 20, I guess. And so I'm wondering if that's some kind of is that a much bigger turnout than you've seen in the past for these elections? I've seen them won for as little as 600 or 800 votes. So,
Yeah, I think we looked up the numbers last week, and it was a significant increase
Okay.
in the amount of voters voting in our election.
thanks.
Well, I think we owe a debt of thanks to probably a previous board and whoever else had a hand in making that consolidation happen, because I think it made it a more democratic process to have more people participate, so. Thank you, past board. All right, well, we've arrived at number 9, our closed session. I know, Renee, you would like a word before we move forward with that item.
Sure, thank you very much. I mentioned earlier the September billings at $65,000 from Best and Krieger. I just wanted to point out that in this issue of, or at least some degree, Catay v. Altadena Library District Attorney is the only item you're going to discuss in closed session. Through the end of September, legal billings, now this is with everything, but legal billings since BB&K came on board, and that includes a little bit from LA County Council, not much, in excess of $215,000. In excess of $215,000. Now, Ms. Catay, I don't know exactly how much she was being paid, but for some reason, this library board has decided that rather than taking up her offer of working and benefiting this library district, this library board has instead decided to spend about 18 months worth, somewhere on that order, of her salary in a few months on legal bills to try and keep her from working. Now, I don't know what the definition of insanity is, but I think a definition of a very badly managed board of trustees is one that will take public funds and flush them straight over to a law firm with apparently no end in sight. Now again, $215,000 is only from May, the beginning of May, through the end of September. That doesn't include the month past or the month we're in. So if we figure another, let's be generous, let's be conservative, only another $50,000 a month, and that would be a decrease. We're looking at well over $300,000 in legal fees. And I just think it's really important that people understand that, and that you all stand fully accountable, because you are the ones, as we've heard, who've authorized these expenditures. And it's insane. That's the only thing I can say about it. So, thanks.
Thank you, Renee. Mark?
Mark Mariscal. So I just thought I would take this opportunity to, when you talk about the agenda for the December 10th meeting, or you report out as Board of Trustees for any action that you, just your reports of trustees, not out of the closed session, that you would consider a closed session meeting on December 10th at the end of the meeting, if you can, or earlier, like at 4 o'clock, so you could have the regular meeting start at 5. But I say that so that your 2 new trustees that will be seated can get as much of a significant briefing up to date as possible. And I just share that from being a past trustee, that when you first come in, and because of the way the meetings are once a month, and there's a lot of things that obviously have transpired over the last year or so, maybe 2 years, with the different closed sessions and legal issues that the library may have had. I think bringing those 2 new trustees up to date immediately is a very valuable item for the other 3 of you to have them brought up. So I just throw that out as a suggestion that, because I can't imagine this closed session will settle everything that might be pending out there, but that you definitely take some time on the 10th if you can, so that you don't wait till the January meeting to really bring those 2 new trustees up to date. So just a suggestion.
Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, so we are going to adjourn up to the director's office for our closed session. And you are welcome to rest here if you wish. So I'm going to adjourn us at 5:44. And we'll see you when we get back. Okay, I'm calling us back into session at 7:35.
My stuff.
That takes care of item 10. Renee, it seems like you want to speak to 11.
Madam President, do you want to make the announcement
Oh.
about whether there's a reportable action from closed
Well,
session?
there's public comment on that
Oh, I apologize.
before I can do that, I think.
Okay.
Can I ask that I have the opportunity to speak after? Would that be acceptable to you?
May I ask a question? Excuse me, Mr. Amy. Mr. Amy commented on the public on the closed session prior to convening into closed session,
Correct.
correct? And what is item 11?
Public report of any reportable action from closed session.
Okay, so there is no reportable action, so there is no item 11.
Yeah, but item 11 is an item on the agenda, and so the public has a right to comment on any and all items on the agenda individually and distinctly.
You may speak. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I guess in a way this is good news for us all, because it'll be a different board that takes this up. You folks have effectively kicked the can down to the next board that will have the opportunity to address this issue, which means there'll be potentially a different set of viewpoints in terms of the majority, or not. At the same time, of course, because you folks haven't addressed this issue, Mr. Duran and his firm continue to bill hours on this issue. And it continues to linger as a stain on the community and on this library's ability to raise funds and function properly for the community. Your lack of action on this issue has cost this library district and the people who work here and the community as a whole a heck of a lot more than just dollars. It's cost goodwill, and it's cost a lack of faith in this board and in this organization. So I think you should be ashamed of yourselves, but I look forward to the day when, again, a different majority might prevail and get this issue settled. So thank you.
Thank you, Renee. So now I guess I can report on number 11 that there is no reportable action from the closed session. All right, moving along to number 12. Renee, want to talk to that one too?
Yeah, we heard earlier about that correspondence and how it kind of got shuffled and should have been placed under this item. You all have a copy of it, and I saw it online and have grabbed the information copy. And I find it really interesting as I took a look at it. And yeah, okay, so the Staff Association said they had a couple of questions and actually asked 6 in their letter. But more importantly, they were concerned, the Staff Association and the representative of staff didn't point this out, about a lack of leadership on the part of the library and on the part of the board. And I've touched on this earlier about the costs of that, and the fact that you folks have decided, despite requests from members of the public, to keep this entire process, I think it was put in the Star News, in private, so that no one has any idea what's going on except for what you report. So I found it interesting in reading this letter that I and other members of the community who have stood here and expressed concern about this process, and that those who haven't stood here and expressed concern about this process aren't the only ones that actually, the Library Staff Association is concerned about a lack of transparency and understanding about what the heck this subcommittee is doing. That's not good. You've had the opportunity to discuss, to deliberate, to explain, but you have chosen not to. Rather, you remind me of the Russian dolls, the nesting dolls, essentially, and maybe you're all one and the same and all stacked together, I don't know. But when your own library staff says there's a problem, I would hope you would take that to heart and address that by explaining to everyone in a full, forthright, and understandable method what the heck is going on and how long is this going to take and why is it taking so long and why is it that nobody knows anything except perhaps two staff members, I'm sorry, two board members. Thank you.
All right, Terry, if you would. Before you do, I just want to say quickly, for those of you, I think everybody was here earlier, Kate Schumacher, who wrote the letter, needed to leave to go deal with childcare. So that's why she decided to make her comments during regular public communication, but the item was attached to the agenda item that it related to. So that was the reason for that.
Okay, and then in terms of a report on this item, we have proceeded with candidates. We've done an initial round of interviews, and now we're in the reference checking stage of that, with probably a final interview or two for Stella to do with some of the candidates. And we will have, I'm sure, a list or a name to recommend to the board here by the end of the year for sure, and whatever meeting is appropriate for that to be taken up as an agenda item. The letter that was written by Kate Shoemaker, I saw for the first time in the board packet, so the idea that there was a groundswell of employees that were feeling in the dark about this was entirely new to me. It's the first time I've read this. They've offered for one of the board members to come and meet with them on November 29th at 9:15 a.m., November the 28th at 9:15, which I'm totally prepared to do. I'll show up to that meeting and try to give them as much as I can about the process and what's going on. But the short version is we're proceeding. We've looked at candidates. We're in reference checking right now, and we will have a name or two that comes available here probably before the next board meeting.
Thank you. Any comments from us? I do believe Mark gave his reports kind of in terms of the public comment, so I think 13 has already been taken care of.
I have a card in there.
No, I don't see a card for number 13 if that's what you're asking for. Is it?
I did.
Let me double check. I mean, you're certainly welcome.
But, and actually, not to make a big deal about it, but I was gonna let this go, but Mark said I should come up and point out again, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, and that would benefit the Altadena Library District Foundation, so they would be very happy to have people give money tomorrow, so thank you.
Oh, there it is, sorry. Got buried in my papers.
A thin volume of my requests.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a big bound volume of them and give it to you for Christmas. So we're down to 14, reports of trustees. I'll ask for others in a moment. I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, to echo something Mark said earlier, which is just gratitude at the level of participation in the recent election, both in terms of candidates and in terms of voters and in terms of community interest. I just feel like the results of the election really reflect how much this community cares about its library and how how important it is in this town. So that was gratifying to see. I do also want to just on the record thank both Ira and Armando, as this is the last meeting at which they are sitting members of this board. I'm sorry that Armando isn't with us this evening, but I thank them for their service and for the time and energy that they've put into volunteering to be part of this board. It's not always easy, but it shows a dedication and a concern for community that I think we all share. So thank you for that. And a welcome to our new members, Jason and Katie. We're looking forward to working with you, and welcome aboard. So we'll see you at the swearing in, I guess. Anybody else have a comment to say?
I just want to make a couple of, I think the library needs to be applauded for the work that they do. And I don't think that necessarily having 100 or so pages can always tells the story. Less is sometimes more. And you've done a really great job. And I saw a couple of things that I just want to say congratulations on. One is that Christina was selected to be one of the trainers at as a facilitator. And that was in the package, and I think we need to at least applaud them for the work that they do, because I think it's really important. They do valuable work every day, day in and day out. People are here, whether you come around here or not. I'm up and down the street all the time, so I see a lot of cars. They're here all of the time, and so I want to just applaud you for doing that. There was something else. Jonathan, thank you for working on trying to figure out what is the correct address on this. We appreciate you too. I'm usually not absent from some of the meetings, but I'm going to just say this. I did have some family emergency, and I will have again in December. So I will miss this meeting. But I do think that it's important for you to know that we give of our time and our energy, and I want to thank the library for, I'm not certain where I got this from, but.
The volunteer recognition.
Oh, volunteer recognition. Well, thank you so very much for appreciating what we do. And we enjoy it because it's a way of our giving back to the community. Certainly, it's been an honor to work with Ira and also Armando. And of course, we are going to have new members, and I'm looking forward to working with them also. Thank you so very much, and great turnout. I did my voting before I left town, so and I encouraged all of my friends to do the same thing. So thank you so much.
For the whole time I've been on the board, just about every meeting, especially when I was board president, I always praised the staff. I mean, the wonderful staff at this library, and especially in the last year, fiscal year, those calendar year, I looked at the statistics, and the metrics are flat to up. I mean, the circulation, everything. So just kudos to the staff. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful people here.
And I'd like to comment on Ira and Armando's service to the library too. I thank them for that. Ira's been involved in a variety of ways for a long time. Armando I didn't get to know as much as I would have liked, but I've been impressed by his judgment as well as a trustee. And then also extend my welcome to the incoming board members. And I think we've got a pretty good crew shaping up here, so I'm looking forward to the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're at 15 agenda items for future agendas. If anyone would like to bring that up now.
Well, may I just ask if, we have a calendar of holidays, will we have a calendar for next time as far as the meetings? Kylie, I'm not sure if you're the one.
It will be brought to the next, meeting on the
Thank you.
10th. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And, I just wanted to note, I told, Mr. Duran when he came back in that I didn't scroll down far enough on the county website. It does say, for the election code that they have to certify within 30 days. So that is December 6th, but it does have a note that on November 30th, the registrar, recorder, county clerk is tentatively scheduled to certify the election results. So I'm guessing that's why they gave me
Oh, great.
that date. So hopefully we get it sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? That is a wrap. So I would like to
No, I'm
ask.
sorry, Betsy, I do
No.
have
Oh,
something.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're still talking about
Yeah,
future agendas.
Sure.
I would like to propose that there's a facilities group within the library staff that meets, and I see a need as a liaison to the Altadena Library Foundation to have sort of a link between what they're raising money for and what is aimed to be accomplished by the Facilities Commission or committee. So I guess I'd like to propose in a future meeting that there might be another board liaison of some sort that is involved on a periodic basis to help triangulate the goals and make sure that all the parties are talking. So I see a need for that and maybe some discussion and a vote on that one.
Okay, thank you. So noted. All right. With that, I think I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn at 7:50.
All motion. Adjourn.
Ira's moved.
I'll second it.
One second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.